As a recent entry into what is an older trilogy of Atelier games, Atelier Lulua combines old and new Atelier to make something great. It takes the original Gameflow of the Arland trilogy and polishes it up to modern Atelier standards, removes the time limit to make playing a little more free, and introduces a great new protagonist and group of characters while giving plenty of updates on Arland favorites in a way that respects players of all backgrounds. If you like the idea of a world full of charming characters, smooth synthesis, and many things to unlock in its big world, Atelier Lulua is a faithful return to Arland in this magical world of discovery and rediscovery that I'm glad this fourth entry could let me experience. Our new protagonist in this atelier is Lulua, a positive and impulsive girl who's the daughter of the great alchemist Rorona from the first entry of the Arland series. Lulua's goal is to be able to surpass her mother one day, but she doesn't have much direction as to how she can do this at first. Until one fateful day, a book called Alchemy Riddle appears in the sky, a book full of alchemy advice that only she can read, that conveniently gives her advice right when she needs it too. The discovery of Alchemy Riddle marks the start of her journey of learning alchemy, making new friends, and finding purpose as she tries to reach her goal of becoming a great alchemist and solving the book's many riddles. As a new element in both story and gameplay, Alchemy Riddle sets the stage for a new style of progression compared to the rest of the Arland series, with it giving a clear goal for each chapter of the story to make going through it easy enough, but also giving plenty of side content for those who want to dive in deeper. Unlike the other Atelier Arland games and more like recent Ateliers, the story is progressed by fulfilling requirements revealed after story scenes as you progress, and usually requires you to do things like synthesis or defeating certain foes in order to decipher its riddles. And as long as you can do that, getting to a decent ending in this entry shouldn't be too much of an issue, and it's definitely more of a streamlined approach than the previous games. Despite the fact I genuinely liked the time limit in the other Arland games, I really liked the amount of freedom in this one instead, and how challenge came more from gameplay elements than just managing time. Atelier Lulua has no time limit whatsoever, meaning you can do things at your own pace, whether it be story or getting to know characters, and this really allowed me to get to know the world and do simple things like grinding for the last few bosses or raising my alchemy level without worrying that this would mess me up eventually, letting me play how I wanted rather than changing my playstyle to fit the time limit. Although I kinda liked the pressure the first 3 games had, this was surprisingly refreshing, and it felt nice knowing that if I really wanted to, I could do everything in one playthrough. So after having even more fun with Lulua because of this aspect, I think removing that limit this time around was definitely the right choice for the many things to do in this game. The lack of time limit is nice, as this atelier features a lot of great and revised systems, and the freedom this game allows let me enjoy and really get to know a lot of them. First is the newest system, the Alchemy Riddle, the system for Lulua's magic book that she regularly needs to decipher, and while parts of it are essential to look into to complete the main story, there are plenty of extra recipes that can be unlocked to make exploring the world easier. Alchemy riddles like ones for mining picks and battle items can be highly helpful to make completing certain story recipes easier, and unlocking these usually means fighting a certain foe, gathering a specific item, and mainly just taking time to discover what's in the world. Many times while gathering around the field, just because it's addictive, I found I'd unlocked something in the book too, and seeing that kind of thing made exploration feel very satisfying. Unlocking things in Alchemy Riddle is extra rewarding in this entry too, as gathering is less clunky than in previous Arland games, and much more like modern Atelier, and the simplicity of gathering with the satisfaction of accidentally finding things was great to encourage me to explore the world more, along with the equally satisfying feeling of when you find the item Alchemy Riddle was referring to as well. The riddle recipes are then created through the revamped synthesis system, which has new features such as awaken effects that give your item extra properties, along with the customization element of balancing element effects. And between this and the materials you gather, it was interesting testing out certain traits to see what made a better item, especially since you can make the same one a few different ways. I particularly liked balancing the elemental qualities, with some items having good things like good traits or a high quality level, but having too much of a wrong element, meaning that I had to think about if I could balance that out later or have to find a different item with those traits. And this kind of thing added a good sense of quick decision making to creating items. While it sounds complex, the best part is that in practice it's pretty quick to do and feels satisfying to get right. So I like that this system combines a lot of the interface and ideas of the Arland system, but also makes one more simple than the mysterious trilogy, and Lulua's system ends up feeling like a good middle ground of a modern, simple yet complex one. And with so many items to create for story, alchemy, riddle, and battle, the battle system has appropriately been revamped too, and ended up being my favorite Atelier battle system yet, with the way it improves on all of my favorites. Since I really liked how the previous Arland entry, Atelier Maruru, has the battle system slowly grow and progress to fit many mechanics by the time you're at the end of the game, I was very pleased to see that Lulua's system has this kind of feeling too, with it starting off as a fairly standard Atelier system with items and attacks, but by the end of the game, this system becomes a strategic mix of special attacks, passive and active skills, and bonuses for using its new interrupt skill. And if you can master this along with putting the right characters in your party for even more battle synergy, you can make a really powerful team fitting for some of its harder boss battles. There are some differences from the Arland series that work really well here, with Lulua featuring the Lydian Soulesque system of having a 3-people frontline with 2 supporters in the back doing extra skills, which adds even more complexity, and I like that there's still plenty of ways to figure out how you want to play, where you can opt for a physically stronger party by making good equipment, or abuse the heck out of some absolutely insane item traits that you can get that raise things like item quantity and power levels to crazy heights if you know what you're doing. And on the topic of abusing items, the new interrupt system is a great way to do this, and was a godsend in some of the later battles as it gives you a quick way to turn the tide. This is a system where you can equip an item to your alchemist that they can use after a few turns to interrupt whatever attack is coming your way, and it can really help depending on what you equip. For example, you can equip healing items, and just before your party is about to be dealt a deadly hit, you can heal everyone so that they just survive. And you can equip items with knockbacks to delay the enemy's attack that little bit longer, and many other things. And since this game has a bit of a difficulty spike around chapter 10, it's a very useful system in those harder battles, and while it won't always save you, it's a nice active strategic element as you never know when the perfect time to use it is going to come up. With all the other mechanics I like, this extra system is the cherry on top of a good one, and with all of the battle system's active and passive elements coming together well, it's a battle system I had a lot of fun playing with. Finally, the event system that's in most Atelier games is present too, and with a cost this big, there are more than enough events to keep you busy for a while. As you progress, each of the big hub towns in Lulua open up to reveal its own cast of characters to make friends with and get to know, with mixes of Arland characters and new ones. And as you do story events in each of the towns or just explore, it's not uncommon to come across one of these fun events by chance that provide character development and let you get to know the world more. While I didn't do all of them, as there are a lot, I did do a fair few of these by chance and intentionally since the cost was so enjoyable, and they made me enjoy the world more, with all of them providing plenty of insight on where certain past Arland characters have been since their previous games to how Arland will be shaped in the future, on top of the fact that there are many comical moments to enjoy that keep things light and fun, and the fast-moving character models in this entry gave it a kind of fun anime comedy feel that I really enjoyed. There are also a bunch of character endings to unlock too, so if you want to do everything, Lulua is ready to keep you busy for a while, and with a cost as fun as this one, it's something I'd definitely like to do sometime. The backdrop for these events is a prettier and more visually beautiful version of the world of Arland established in the previous games, along with the new area of Arcalis that Lulua is from. Seeing Arland in such a polished and faithful way excited me a lot as a fan of the previous games, and with so many places to explore that are from the original trilogy, between this and many dialogue moments that reference the original characters, there's a great feeling of nostalgia to be found returning to the world if you know its source material. This is really great for fans of the games, but if you're new to Arland and hoping for Lulua to be your first one, I wouldn't worry too much. All the characters are people Lulua is generally meeting for the first time herself, and this is her first big journey, so she doesn't really know the world either. So new players can definitely discover this world as she does and still get a lot out of it, especially since Lulua's positivity and fun personality is fun to get to know too. So while knowing Arland does really add to the experience, it's not entirely necessary, and there's still fun to be had without. While it's certainly playable for new fans, and I did enjoy the story, I do wonder if I would have enjoyed it as much without having played those 3 games. I found the first 8 chapters in Lulua to be the most exciting since they were full of a lot of characters from past games, and having the joy of seeing old protagonists with Lulua was something very special, especially with Lulua being younger than them and having them be kinda like a guide in her journey. The rest of the story is still good when it's based closely on Lulua, and I like the way she develops and grows as a character a lot as well. I just feel the game was best for me when it was growing on its original world. So if you're considering perhaps playing the Arland trilogy before this one, I would recommend doing that if you can, just because you'll appreciate the world a bunch more. So while it's not essential to have played the previous 3 and the game is said to be aimed at all players, it certainly doesn't hurt, and it's something to keep in mind if you want to have the best Lulua experience possible. As I mentioned, Atelier Lulua is the prettiest of the Arland games, with the game using the same kind of graphic style as Lydia and Soul, but this time with illustrator Melkishida's gorgeous character designs and an upgraded world, and the characters look beautiful, with many of the now older ones looking the best they've ever looked. As for how it looks on consoles, I played the Switch version, so that's where my footage is from, and in both handheld and docked mode, the game looked beautiful and ran smoothly enough, with the exception of a few frame rate drops here and there. I can't comment fully on the PS4 version since my experience with it is only from the demo, but as I showed in my first impressions video, between the PS4 and Switch demos I didn't find much different and assumed that this would be the same in the final versions, although I have seen videos from people who have PS4 Pros that makes it look a little bit better with extra trees and whatnot filling out some of the backgrounds a little more. I chose the Switch version after trying both demos and don't regret it at all, especially since its gameplay is such a good fit on the console. So with the bonus of portability and what seems to be similar performance, if you have a Switch, that version is very good, but the PS4 doesn't seem bad at all from what I've tried. As for other quality aspects, while it's not game ruining, Lulua does occasionally suffer from the recent minor quality issues I found in a few localized Gust Koei Tecmo games recently, and that's typos in the script. And with this edition in the Arland series being the first that is only subbed and not dubbed, these errors can stick out sometimes. I understand there is a lot of dialogue in this game, with each character you can do events with usually having 10 each on top of main story, alchemy riddle, and other things that would have had to be localized, so I can understand to some extent why this happens. I just always wish these scripts were looked over that little bit more, even if just for the main story portion, as it does occasionally break my immersion. As usual, I do hope these errors get patched up eventually, and while I'm not sure if it will happen, it would be nice to have the story be as smooth and the best it could possibly be script-wise. My time in the main story spanned 40 fun-filled hours, and in that time I finished its main story with a normal ending and completed 81% of its alchemy riddle tasks in order to help me beat some of the tough bosses at the end. In terms of replayability, there's a lot. Alchemy riddle provides a bunch, as I still have about 5 chapters worth of riddle tasks now that I'm finished, and with it being so satisfying to discover them in the world, that's something I'd love to come back to do on my Switch, as it got pretty addictive to do, especially in small bursts. When you finish the game, you also unlock 2 extra hard difficulty modes along with a few extra things, so with plenty more events for me to unlock on top of character events and endings, including a true one when you get them all, I have a bunch of reasons to return to this world, and I'm sure I will, since this probably has my favorite version of the Arland series gameplay that I wouldn't mind diving into further with its endgame content and probably its upcoming DLC as well. As a fan of the Atelier Arland series, and as a beautiful looking cherry on top of the great original 3, the way Atelier Lulua revitalizes and builds on the good points of the Arland games make it an absolute pleasure to play. With a huge cast of characters and places new and old to explore, the game really builds on the things I love about Atelier and the Arland games in general, from its enjoyable and addictive game flow to getting to know its characters in depth, but this time with a lot more freedom to make playing it have the relaxing, fun feeling of modern Atelier as well that makes me want to dive into it more and more. It's good that it's accessible to newcomers, although I do think Arland fans will get a bit more out of it in the end, but since the systems look fun and it provides more freedom than some of the other games, I can understand why newcomers would want to try this one, and definitely think there's enjoyment to be found here from players of any type of background. Overall, Atelier Lulua is an enjoyable conclusion to the Arland series with the best gameplay of them all, and with its fun alchemy riddle and plenty more quests, gathering and synthesis left over for me to do, I'm glad to say that it's earned a high place in my list of addictive games I love playing on Switch. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below if you're gonna try Atelier Lulua, and if you already have, what do you think of it? You can like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content like this, and ring that bell to get notifications on whenever I post so you don't miss a thing. You can check out more videos here, and you can find me on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at JRPG Jungle. Links to those will be in the description below, along with links to where you can pick up Atelier Lulua. And until next time, thank you, bye!